Today we're going to go over the Commander 3 platform, how to download door files and run doors. Here, located at your main panel, we're going to turn on the knife switch to turn power onto the machine. After turning on main power, we're going to go to our FRL, turn the switch, turn air onto our machine. Here at the FRL, it's a combination of components. Here's our emergency disconnect, our muffler, our water trap, our regulated pressure, dry supply for the air tank. Here we have lubricated supply for all of our cylinders. After turning on main power and air, you'll go over to your control console, turn on the control circuit located here, and turn on your computer. Here we're going to go over our 4 switches at the control console. First, you have our control circuit. You're going to go ahead and toggle that on to turn on the computer and power to the machine. Next, you have your start sequence. That's going to go ahead and run the sequence for your door file that you've downloaded. Next, you have your start machine. That turns on power to just the machine. Next, you have your e-stop located here. Pressing it in turns it on. Switching it over untoggles it. You want to turn that on in the event of any bodily harm or machinery harm. Now that Kval Cam has loaded, we're going to hit Start Machine. Now that we've hit Start Machine, we're going to go over to our main page on the Commander 3, and we're going to hit Home Machine. Now that the machine has been homed, we'll go over to our Libraries tab, and we'll go ahead and verify a door job. Now that we've verified our door job, we're going to go ahead and add to queue down here, +1, add to queue, and then go back to our main UI. Now that we added a door to our queue, here under door specs, we can see the door that we've downloaded, length, width, thickness, and handing. Grouping of features that we have. Our locations for our H blocks here, whether they're enabled or disabled, and whether or not the carriage has found them. Here we can enable all hinges or disable all hinges. Here we have the shelf pin configuration, whether or not you're doing 3.5-inch hinges, 4-inch hinges, or above. Down low we have our lock disabled and enabled for whether you're doing just bore only, face only, or plate only. Down here we have our routine speed, 0 through 100, and manually capable. Here we have our sequence control tab. Start sequence is the same as the start sequence on the control console, just a soft key. Here we have a manual control for our next grouping, if you have 2 groupings or more. Here we have our door finished manual tab. This goes ahead and gets rid of the door job after you've clamped up a door. Here we have our auto feed system toggling on or off. Here we have our auto width, on or off. Our manual control over the width adjust, opening or closing. Here we have our carriage shift, in or out. Shifting the carriage in moves it to the left. Shifting the carriage out moves it to the right. Here we have manual control over our feed, forward, reverse, normal speed, and toggling for slow speed. Here we have our manual clamp. Here we have our manual door stop. Down low we have our ball catch, enabled or disabled, whether your features have it or your machinery has it. Now that we've gone over our main control tab, we're going to move over to our manual servo control tab. Here you have manual control over your carriages in percentages. Here you have your out feed stop on the right side of your machine, moving left or right for the door stop. Here we have our lock carriage on the back section. moving left or right with percentages. Here we have our carriage, moving left or right with percentages. Here we have control over just the hinge x-axis, which is the one that is going to be cutting the pocket, moving left or right with percentages. Here we have the hinge y-axis, which is moving the head up and down in percentages as well. Here we have the hinge z-axis, which is moving in and out for the cutting sequence in percentages as well. Here we also have control over the auto feed, enabled or disabled, and we have measurement enabled or disabled, whether or not you have a thickness encoder located out of your back section. Now that we've gone over our manual servo control tab, we're going to go over to our tool config tab. Here we have control over all of our servo control tools, our air driven tools, which are the back section tools, parameters for your H blocks extended or not extended, and a tab for our ball catch. If we go back to our servo controls and we toggle one of our tools, this gives us all the parameters information for a tool, whether it be a router, a drill, enabled or disabled, the naming of it, the ID that Kval uses in its reference, counter rotate or not, diameter, minimum diameter plunge, ideal ramp entry angle, total tool length, max pocket depth, max bite per lateral pass, cut overlap in passes, skin priority, tool type, max tool spindle speed, max feed rate, and clean out, perimeter, plunge, and entry feed rates. Now that we've gone over our tool config tab, we're going to move on to our calibration tab. Here we have calibrations for all of your machine. Here we have the hinge head control, your X, Y, and Z for 0 degree and 3 degree beveling. Here we have the hinge tools, X, Y, and Z, and diameter offset for all 3 tools. Here we have for the chisels, X, Y, and Z for all 4 chisels, your lower left, your upper right, and your lower right. Here we have the hinge carriage location, which is locating your H blocks on your frame. Here we have the lock head general. It's lock head location for your face bore, your edge bore, and your faceplate. If your machinery has it, it'll have a thickness encoder calibration. Here we have the 2 door stops, our in-feed stop and our out-feed stop, which is servo controlled. Here we have timing for our back section. It's a fast lock plate timing and slow lock plate timing. Here we have calibration over our feed system timing for auto feed. Here we have H block display adjustment, which shows you the number on the screen for placing your H blocks, and also the same for your jam stops. Here we have your jam adjustment. Here's the height at which your jam is sitting in reference to the door. Here we have our depth adjustment, if it's different from the door depth. Here we have door depth mappings, all the way down the door in inches. If it was that a jam was warped, you would go ahead and adjust the depth accordingly. And same for the jam. Now that we've gone over our calibration tab, we'll go over our tool path preview tab, located here. Once a door is downloaded, we can hit render, and it shows us a tool pathing of that door sequence. Here, under selected G-code, we can go ahead and select every single feature that we have on the door job. We can output it, so you can download it. Here we can open the directory for that. Under path analysis, it shows us which tools are being used in their reference tool ID in Kval. Now that we've gone over our tool path preview tab, we'll go over to our status tab. Here is the status of the machine and everything that it's reading. Here we have the state that it's in now. As you can see, we have a door job downloaded, whether it's busy or not, ready or not, whether it's errored out. If we go down, we can see all that for the downstream of information, the servo supply information, new door data coming in from your queue, our control interface, the status of our hinge manager, lock manager, table manager, and safety manager, the status of our AC unit at the cabinet, the status of our main pressure sensor located on the frame. We can also see here measurements completed or not completed, and whether or not the thickness feeler has been done or not. We can see the value at which it has measured and then the actual door thickness at which it measured at. Here we have the diagnostic light tower and the status of it. Now that we've gone over our status tab, we can go over our log tab. Here it shows in real time everything that it's doing on the machinery, whether it's accepting a new job, whether it's measuring the door, whether it's processing G-code, or whether it's feeding a door out. Now that we've downloaded a door job, we're ready to move the H-block mechanically and get ready to feed a door in. We're going to go over to our H-block, loosen up using a 1/2-inch wrench for our 5/16 bolt. Move it over accordingly based off the UI. This one says 65 1/4. We're going to go ahead and tighten down and get ready to run the door. Depending on your door job and how many features you have, you'll move around all 3 or 4. Now that we've downloaded our door job and are mechanically moved our H blocks, we're ready to go ahead and hit auto feed, auto width, and feed in our door. Now that our door is clamped up, we're going to hit start sequence. Now that we've ran that door, we're going to re-download that door, run it again, and simulate an emergency e-stop. Now that we've toggled the e-stop, we're going to go ahead and assess the situation and go ahead and address anything that we need to. After that, we're going to go ahead and recover. We're going to go ahead and untoggle the e-stop, press start machine, and go ahead and rehome the machine. After we've done that, we're ready to auto feed again and rerun this door. We'll hit start sequence, and we're ready to run the door again. Here on the ground, we have our foot pedal for your operator. Here we have our door clamp on the left, clamps up your door manually. You can toggle and untoggle this to move the H blocks when you're moving them around to different locations. On the right side, you have your jam clamp. You'll be doing that after you apply your jam into the H blocks. Here on the left side of your jam clamps, you have everything you need for your jams. Here we have jam shelf spacers for the difference between a 3.5 to a 4-inch hinge, located here. Here we have jam stops and reference for your exterior jams when you're referencing the dados. Same as this style here. You'll be using these jam self spacers when you need it for the 4-inch hinges, and you'll be applying it like so onto all of your H blocks. Anytime you move your H blocks and make a mechanical adjustment, you'll want to go to your H block jam clamp assembly and move it like so, lock it into place, and apply your jam. Now we're going to go over running a door and a jam together. I'm going to feed the door in. It's going to go ahead and auto feed and clamp. As it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and apply my jam. I'm going to be mindful of where I put my hands as I press the foot pedal to clamp up the jam. I'm going to go over, hit start sequence, and it's going to start. After the first hinge is done, typically you would go ahead and apply your hinge as it's machining the next one. Now the machine is done at the end of its sequence, you would hit door clamp and it would auto feed out with the jam attached. Now we're going to go over how to make mechanical changes that are necessary for your back section. Sometimes it might be necessary to open up the back section with your manual toggle to give yourself room to make these mechanical changes on the back section. Anytime you're doing so, you want to go ahead and hit the emergency stop and lock out, tag out whenever necessary. Here on your back section, to switch between 0 and 3 degree here, we have our little kip handles. We would loosen and bring it up to go into 3 degree, and we would drop down to go into 0 degree, and then tighten back up. Same thing on the other side here for the left side of your faceplate. When you're swapping the faceplate to 0 and 3 degree, you're going to want to make some mechanical changes. You're going to grab a 9/16 wrench and loosen up these two 3/8 bolts. And you're going to want to slide the router back and out of the way. You're going to go to your turret and swap over to your 3 degree depth and push it in. Then tighten up your router. Like so. Here at the back of the machine, on the back section, we have our turret pins for your auto shifting faceplate widths. These guys have numerical values on them in accordance to the pin chart that's located here. We can reference what degree we're in, what plate width, and what size pins we need for the top and bottom. When changing out the pins to adjust for either beveling or different widths, you have two different settings. The left side here and the right side here, you can change between two different widths or two different bevelings, and it'll automatically shift in Kval Cam for that. You take out the pins and then put them back in like so. After you've made all the necessary mechanical changes to your machine, you'll want to go to your tool config tab, go to your air driven tools, and adjust anything accordingly. You have your lock edge plate with 0 and 3 degree beveling. Anytime there's a change, you'll see the save button is highlighted and you'll want to save. Here we have the two different widths that we were talking about for the auto shifting mechanism. Length, depth, and diameter of tool. All right, now that you're ready to power down the machine, we'll go ahead and go down and right click on the icon for Kval Cam. You'll go up to the exit. We'll go down to the windows, go to the power icon and shut down. And then you'll wait on the screen till it says machine is ready to shut down. Now that we know it's safe to turn off our computer, we'll go to our control circuit and turn it off. Now that we powered down the computer at the control console, we'll go to the FRL, look at the back of the machine again, and turn off the air. like so. And now last, after we've turned off the air and turned off the control console, we'll go to our knife switch here at the cabinet and turn the power off, like so.